Now we finally have an update on the drowning death of Malcolm Jamal Warner. Now, according to ABC7, they stated that Malcolm Jamal Warner had drowned while he was on vacation in Costa Rica. Now, the article goes on to say that Warner had drowned off the coast of Costa Rica on Sunday. So this actually occurred on Sunday. They stated that the Costa Rican National Police had told this to ABC News.
Jaguar Wright didn't whisper her way into this story. She kicked it wide open. She says the death tied to the name Malcolm Jamal Warner wasn't some random ocean tragedy. In her telling, it reads like a flight from danger, like someone counting minutes, not waves. If even a fraction of that is real, we're not talking about bad luck. We're staring at a narrative that doesn't sit still. Here's the claim as she puts it. He wasn't melting down, he was moving fast. Not toward calm, but away from something that had a pulse and a plan. As the internet chewed on a few seconds of beach footage, comments shifted from terrible accident to hold up. What am I looking at?
I can't wait. I can't wait for everybody to find out what's really been going on in the background.
This isn't a memorial monologue, it's a timeline puzzle. And the pieces aren't cooperating. Allegations stack up. Official lines blur. The question stops being what happened and becomes why does every version argue with the last one? The name at the center has weight and history, and it's also a name shared by a well-known actor, which makes precise identification critical. So, lock this in. Everything here is either public allegation by Jaguar Wright, widely circulated commentary, or generic reporting language. Unverified items are treated strictly as claims. There's a short video, the one the internet keeps replaying, a dark shoreline, a lone walk, a frame that should feel peaceful but doesn't. Watch the body language. It doesn't read like a sunset exhale. It looks like a tight coil. The shoulders are set. The head seems on a swivel. You can't hear fear, but you can sense it. That's where people split. Some called it grief. Some called it exhaustion. Some said it looked like someone who didn't want to be seen, but knew the camera was there anyway.
I don't even know, but so it's not the easiest question,
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like there is part of me that I will be able to leave this earth, knowing and people knowing that I was a good person.
Then the rumor mill spun up with talk of a clean autopsy. No substances, no alcohol, nothing. Which, if true, undercuts the lazy, he was out of it narrative.
What you got in your head, that neural link. You'll never outthink me. Ever.
The short timeline is messy. One account says family was present. Another, also presented as official, says the family wasn't there at the moment. One retelling mentions a surfer sprinting in with a board, another brings in a lifeguard, and each narrator seems to remember a different order of events. That does not automatically prove foul play. Disasters are chaotic, and eyewitness memory can fracture under pressure. But when statements labeled official contradict each other, people stop nodding and start counting inconsistencies. Every time a detail flips, who was there, when they arrived, who got pulled out first, the audience stamps a big question mark on the whole thing. Then comes the skill argument. Friends say he wasn't a rookie in the water. If he understood rip currents, why no escape? Strong swimmers get caught too. That happens. Yet when the narrative already bends, strong swimmer becomes one more splinter in a story that won't lie flat. When two official branches grow in opposite directions, the trunk is hard to trust. And that's the oxygen allegations love. Enter Jaguar Wright. She's never blended into the wallpaper. She's built a reputation for tossing matches into rooms the industry prefers to keep dim. In this situation, her claims are blunt. The beach wasn't the beginning or the end. Danger was already in motion.
Oh, man.
They were saying I was crazy. Shouldn't I ask somebody?
Yeah, the policeman is right there.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure everyone understood my rights.
Yeah, that's fucking amazing.
If they was hearing what I was hearing.
That's amazing.
They said I was crazy.
Oh, man. All right, so let's...
She suggests the accident frame is a wrap slapped over a story with teeth. She adds a bigger assertion that federal interest is brewing. To be clear, that is unverified here. Still, the image of quiet investigators asking loud questions is catnip to an audience already skeptical. Jaguar argues this wasn't a stumble, but a shutdown, the point where a man who refused to play along with a safe version of a black public figure became inconvenient. Once he stopped smiling for the poster and started questioning the wrong things, pressure turned into policy. People listen to Jaguar because she names patterns, calls out power, and speaks to a generation that has watched clean press statements get amended, retracted, or clarified. Whether you believe her or not, she doesn't whistle in the dark. She points to inconsistencies and dares the room to pretend they're invisible.
I've been in show business since I was 14, and I've heard the stories of what happened, and I've seen these kinds of things play out in front of me.
What do you mean? What stories?
I mean, you see it before. Look, Mariah Carey made a $100 million deal, and 3 months later, she's all of a sudden mysteriously crazy. Or Martin Lawrence punches through and he's waving a gun on the street screaming, "They're trying to kill me."
Yeah. Would you say you lost your mind, sort of? No.
Not exactly.
Okay.
I wasn't crazy, but it's incredibly stressful.
Dave Chappelle's public history is often cited as a cautionary echo. He walked away from a towering check, not because the money was bad, but because the strings were worse. Over time, he said the laughter felt like it was shifting. Less with him, more at him. And the product was still jokes, but the purpose was changing. Is that evidence for what happened on that shoreline? No, it's context. A reminder that pressure exists, that image shaping is real, and that careers can move from partnership to puppet show when the talent refuses a script. Put another way, play nice can operate like an invisible contract some people won't sign. Jaguar taps that memory. She argues that when outspoken black men stop smiling for the camera and start asking the wrong questions, the room gets cold. That is a cultural reading, not a case file. But it does explain why so many viewers don't extend the benefit of the doubt to the smooth press release. Past is prologue. Patterns are persuasive even when they aren't proof. And when proof is thin, people lean on what they've seen before. Every sudden death triggers a race to script the first clean sentence. Who frames the "what happened" that search engines glue to the name? If you control the early paragraph, you control the memory. That's why contradictions in official accounts matter. They don't prove anything by themselves, but they shatter confidence. When authority sounds uncertain, the audience listens to whoever sounds certain. Jaguar sounds certain, and certainty travels fast. There's also the larger machine to consider. Publicists, agencies, and outlets all prefer calm stories because friction means questions, and questions demand work. If it was an accident, keep it simple. If it wasn't, simplicity becomes strategy. Either way, the incentive is the same. Reduce confusion and move on. That raises a basic calculus. Who benefits when the narrative resolves quickly? Anyone allergic to scrutiny. Anyone who loses if the timeline gets a microscope. That doesn't name names, but it clarifies motives. And in a business where image is currency, motive is never scarce. To avoid confusion, draw a hard line between the concrete and the clouded. The existence of Jaguar Wright's allegations is a matter of public record. She is actively telling this counter-narrative. A beach clip is circulating, and many viewers describe it as eerie. This is a social media reality. People online are pointing out contradictions in how the scene has been described by different sources. That conflict is exactly what fuels skepticism. The broader context of Dave Chappelle publicly discussing industry pressure is on record, and commentary that rap feuds like the one between Drake and Kendrick Lamar can operate as distractions is a common media conversation rather than a claim of wrongdoing. On the Unverified side, the exact identity behind every post using the name Malcolm Jamal Warner must be handled carefully. Since this is a name shared with a well-known actor, identity needs clarity from primary reporting before conclusions are drawn. Any autopsy details presented as clean remain claims unless documented. Assertions that U.S. federal agencies have launched an investigation require official, on-record confirmation. Specific contradictions attributed to Costa Rican authorities should be traced to primary statements, not secondhand retellings. This isn't fence-sitting, it's precision. Allegations can be compelling, but receipts are what stand when lawyers enter the chat. Jaguar's through line is simple. He wasn't running from a feeling, he was running from a plan. The beach wasn't random. The contradictions weren't clumsy. The quiet wasn't grief, it was strategy. She says he understood the stakes, knew which doors couldn't be knocked on anymore, and grasped how quickly an honest sentence can be edited into something safe. When she suggests federal interest, she implies there's enough smoke that someone with a badge wants to know who lit the match. Again, that's unverified here. Still, the reason it resonates is because it fits a growing public belief about power and pressure. You don't need a cartoon villain if the system itself looks rigged. You only need a timeline that won't stop blinking. The lingering sense that not everything adds up keeps the story alive long after headlines move on. The names you hear in this conversation carry different roles. Jaguar Wright is the source of the loudest allegations and the catalyst for this counter-narrative. The name Malcolm Jamal Warner sits at the center of viral posts, which is why identity clarity matters and should be confirmed with primary sources to avoid conflation with the well-known actor of the same name. Dave Chappelle appears here as a precedent of rejecting industry pressure. His story offers context, not a causal link to this case. Drake and Kendrick Lamar are mentioned in commentary about distraction and attention economics within the industry, which speaks to how narratives can be steered without accusing them of any wrongdoing. References to U.S. authorities and Costa Rica's investigative apparatus describe how jurisdiction and cross-border scrutiny might function in principle, but claims of specific actions demand documented confirmation. People are talking because a few stubborn pieces refuse to lock together. An unsettling clip, an inconsistent timeline, and claims that stride confidently into a vacuum where clear documentation should live. A handful of questions keep tapping the table, no matter how neat the official phrasing tries to be. Why do different authoritative retellings disagree about who was present and who did what, when seconds mattered most? If rumors about a clean autopsy are wrong, where is the firm correction from a primary source? And if they're right, why isn't that clarity front and center in the narrative? Are outlets and viral posts consistently referring to the same individual when they use the name Malcolm Jamal Warner? And if not, what corrections exist to separate identities? If there is federal interest, where is the paper trail? Any liaison note, assistance request, or formal announcement that shows an agency has stepped in? If there isn't, who benefits from implying that there is? Finally, why does the beach clip feel like a countdown instead of a cool down to so many viewers who can't shake that first impression? These aren't wild theories. They're basic requests for a clean, consistent timeline. Until someone delivers it, the internet will construct its own. Even if everything else gets argued to dust, a few principles don't need spin. Allegations are not answers, but they are signals, and signals deserve either confirmation or contradiction with receipts. Conflicting accounts demand documentation, not vibes. Names with public weight require precision, not assumption, especially when identity confusion is plausible. Patterns don't prove events, but they do explain why audiences are reluctant to accept polished scripts at face value. And the fastest version of any story is rarely the truest. It's usually just the first to make the rounds. None of this is moralizing. It's the only way to separate what happened from what's convenient. If this case has clean answers, they'll survive daylight. If it doesn't, the questions will keep multiplying until daylight finally shows up. This moves in one of two directions. Either someone with authority lays out a dated, consistent, verifiable timeline that quiets the contradictions, or the story stays hot. If Jaguar Wright brings forward documents, recordings, or corroboration, the frame shifts from allegation to argument. If that material never appears, the frame remains a question mark because the gaps are still there. Right now, the narrative has too many drivers and not enough maps. A tense walk on a dark beach, a name with public weight, a cluster of contradictory statements, and a set of claims that sound too cinematic to ignore and too serious to accept without proof. The public deserves clarity. If this was an accident, show the paper trail that locks the timeline in place. If it wasn't, no amount of hush will hold forever. The truth isn't allergic to sunlight, and what happens next might shock everyone.